Hi there, folks. I run the risk of making a long video here because I want to go through one of these turbines that I'm sending out to a friend and explain to him how to work it. It's easier than sending an email or talking about it on the phone, and the easiest way for me to communicate is with a video. And I figure, why not just make a video that you all can look at, and then we can all comment on it, and that whole exchange can start. So, without further ado. I do have a lot to talk about and little details of it. I'm going to go ahead and take it apart, reassemble it, and I'm going to talk about the parts along the way. Likely this will get a little bit lengthy, so if this bores you, you might want to turn it off. But it's kind of fun to look at. So here we go. This turbine was made for a friend of mine who wanted a vertical. Okay, and I'm a little overdue on this. I promised it a while back, but I got caught up and finished it off recently. And with that, we're going to talk about the mounting and stuff. Let's just go ahead and take it apart, and then I'll talk about things without getting off track. Alright, so first you've got the front, and this is where we're going to be mounting the blades. It's going to be a 1/2 inch to take off the nose cone, okay? Just go ahead and undo the bolt. It's worth mentioning you only need 3 wrenches for the whole turbine: a 7/16, a 1/2 inch, and a 9/16. Okay, there's no Allen wrenches, nothing like that. Okay, nose cone comes off. It's all everything's steel here. That goes aside. Okay, now you'll see that this is 2 different sizes here. That's 17 millimeter. You'll never need it. I made this shaft so that it could fit the eBay blades and stuff. And if you did make it a horizontal, technically you could use it for something, but you're not going to use it. So here's your hub. Okay, your hub has 2 set screws. Put a 7/16 wrench on there. That's a 1/4-28 fine thread. That is what locks this down to the shaft, not this bolt so much. That bolt cinches things together. This is what holds it down. Next, you've got a spacer here, a simple spacer. Okay, that's 25 millimeter. That's different than the back. Okay, the back is different. Now, on the back side here, you have the same thing. You have a 1/2 inch bolt. Let's go ahead and take that off. Okay, that comes off. A little stiff there. Alright, it's a threaded spindle. Now you have just this little piece here that holds the whole thing together, and then you have a spacer. Note that there's a little bit of space here. That's for a reason. We'll talk about that in a moment. This spacer is not the same as the front. They are not interchangeable. Okay, this is a 1 inch diameter. I've got imperial and metric on the same shaft. Okay, now for today, I can take off the whole assembly with the bolts on. When you actually assemble this, you'll never do that. Okay, for an obvious reason, you have to put the stator in there. But for demonstration purposes today, I'm gonna talk about it. Now there are 3 parts here. You have the rear plate, rotor plate, magnet rotor plate. You can tell it's the rear because it has the 3 jacking bolts, which point out toward the back of the turbine, or the bottom in your case. Okay. Then you have the front, and then you have the spacer in between. The spacer is set in this machine for 1/2 inch thick magnets. It's the same as this one, because I happen to know that the gentleman this is going to has a 1/2 inch thick stator, and this allows for the 1/2 inch on each side of the magnets and a small flux gap. I don't know off the top of my head the distance of that, but it's identical to this machine, which is about perfect, I think. And then of course you've got these 6 bolts, which I'll discuss here in a little bit. Okay, and all that will come apart, but I'm not going to do that right now because I want to speed this thing up. But you get the idea. Okay. One more thing, you're going to see a little T, and you're going to see a T on perfectly the other side. It's a timing mark. When these were made, they were made as a pair, and they fit perfectly. Even though these plates were made on the precision index, and you could technically, turn them aside 120 degrees, you don't want to mount your magnets and find out you got the polarity wrong with these bolts, hole patterns. That's why that's there. These notches, this was plasma cut. It's very accurate. There's 24 stations there if you wish, and what you'll do is you'll mount your magnets with JB weld, which is what I did with this. Again, there'll be discussion about that, and I realize that it's probably better to go ahead and put a bolt through, but there's nothing wrong with that. That absolutely works. So that's that. That's the rear stators. Okay. So when you assemble, this is the part that's important. You will start by mounting. You will put together the front. The front will be spacer, blade rotor, okay, and then your front nose cone, and you will tighten that down. And that's of course important, because if you didn't, I'm going to just quickly disassemble this, take a little more of your time, which I could have done already. You will notice that this shaft can just come right out of here. Okay, the bearings are a press fit, but this is not. And it's a tight fit, but it's not. You know, you don't want that shaft slipping out on you. So if you get the idea, so that goes on like that. This goes on the front, and you tighten it down, and that also cinches the bearings together. There's two bearings in here, and there's a spacer in between them. Okay, that spacer kind of sort of floats in there. It doesn't float when I tighten this down, and I don't get carried away. It just needs to be snug. Then it pulls those two inner races together on the spacer. Okay, and then you have no, end play or run out to really speak of there. Okay, so that's first. Then in the back, this is the part that's important. A little of this is going to have to be abstract, because I've got these plates together like this. So you know what? Let's go ahead and take them apart. Sorry for that being indecisive there, but I think this is important enough to go ahead and discuss. So I'm going to add a little time to the video here and get these things off of here so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so I just took those off. All right, just get this off really quick. It only takes a second. All right. So now, there's the rear rotor, or the front rotor plate, okay, magnet rotor. Notice it's not painted, so you can attach your magnets, okay. The timing mark is right there. I just like to line that up with one of these stator mounts here. Okay, so that T is right there. When you do mount that on there, you won't have wrenches or anything else in the way here. There'll be no other iron or anything, because there's a certain danger in putting these together. But if you follow the procedure, it is safe. Okay. One thing to note is that these front, excuse me, get our 9/16 here. These front bolts, the hole is drilled a little bit larger than these bolts so that they can move like this, okay? And that's deliberate, because when you do mount your stator, on there, and it's going to be a stator like this one. This was made by Goofy Wind in Kentucky. Excellent guy, excellent stator, okay? That gives you a little bit of latitude to move things around, and I need to finesse the holes in the stator a little bit to fit these bolts, but you'll have your studs probably facing to the rear, and that will go on next. Okay, so it's front rotor plate. You put your stator on there, and I'm going out of sequence here, but let me come back to it here. You have, and bear with me on that, because it's to make a video of it and then do it as two different things. You'll leave these loose. You will it goes nut, washer, washer, lock washer, nut. Okay. These three will get removed, of course, and this nut and washer in the front will be moved to the front far enough that the face of this washer will be lower than the front face of these magnets. Your stator will then go on, where your stator will actually be touching those magnets like a brake rotor. It's just touching right up against it. Okay, leave these loose. Okay, then you will put together the rear stator, the rear magnet rotor. Okay, let's get all those out of there. You'll put on your spacer. Okay, you don't have these 3 bolts on there, right? Then when it comes to this, you will have magnets on here. This is a very, very important part here. Okay, so there's no other iron around, and in a safe area, you will take your 3 jacking bolts, which will be provided, and you'll place these in here. And these 3, I'm not going to wind them right now. They're going to wind all the way down to where they're going to touch this plate right when this the plate starts to go onto the shaft, because there is going to be enormous forces going on there. Just the way I'm holding this right now, you will never put a body part, finger, anything goes between these 2 magnet plates. When I hold it by the jacking bolts, and the jacking bolts, you will bring it onto here like this. You may even feel the forces, and again, as soon as you're going to see that little timing mark, that T. Remember, your other T is up here, and you are going to run that in, and then it's going to stop, because your jacking bolts, again, imagine them being extended, are extended all the way down to there. Notice that the jacking bolt is going to nest in that hole. The 2 holes on either side are where the bolts are going to go. Okay, so it's kind of like it holds it in there just a little bit, and it also holds it in position. And furthermore, the magnet polarity, because you're going to face off north and south and whatnot, that's going to just lock right in, right where it needs to be. Okay, and these will be out of the way because they'll be in your stator, and you're going to slowly undo those 3 until this gingerly gets moved down and rests on there until they're loose. And once they're loose, you're going to take them away. Okay, that's how you're going to lower that stator bolt. Again, most important thing, if you remember nothing else from this, is that nothing goes in between those 2. Okay, so now what you have is you have a stator that's mounted, of course, in between those 2, and you know, it's in there loose. You can jiggle it around. Okay, you're going to take your rear spacer, put it on there, and you're going to put this rear part on here so that it cinches the whole thing together, and you're going to go ahead and do that and tighten it down like I'm going to do right here. Okay, so that's that. So now you're tight on there, and again, that's where you are. And now these 6 bolts, if I didn't tighten that too much, because ordinarily, again, the magnetic fields are going to straighten this thing out perfectly, but you're going to have your timing marks there. These are going to go right in all the way around. You may as well put those in there, and I'm going to describe exactly what these do. They're important. Don't omit these parts. Okay, those go in there, and you're just going to put the nut on the other side, and you don't have to put them on tight yet. You just put them on there. Again, just imagine that, because I don't want to waste any more of your time. Okay, so now you have the rear plate on there, and and then what you're going to do is those bolts are on there loosely. You can put the rear nut washer and everything on there, and you can also, very important at this point, you can go ahead and cinch down the front, and that should come down all the way until it's just really tight and on there. Okay, see that? So now these things are firm and in place. And with this stator on here touching the magnets, you're going to slowly bring this forward until it just barely pushes the stator up off of the magnets. So they were in contact with the magnets before, and now they are just barely off. I mean, like a 64th of an inch off of them. Okay, and so that part will be, just tighten this down. That will be on there like that, and then once you've got the stator raised up, you're going to bring this down, and imagine a 1/2 inch, right? 1/2 inch stator. You're going to bring this down until you're just barely compressing the lock washer. okay? And then it's a matter of looking through there. It's probably a light source on the other side, and just working this back and forth, moving that just so it just barely clears the front magnets, and then bringing that down, and then giving it a little spin, okay? Now let me demonstrate with this other one. That's why I've got it out here, so I can explain what I'm talking about. Over here, you have another unit that I've made. Notice that there's 1/8 inch magnets in here, not 1/2 inch. Okay, so this has got a different spacer in it. It's much more economical to have the 1/8 inch magnets. Another discussion. But this will run free in here, and then in this case I have about 50 thousandths of an inch gap on either side. Once I get it all the way in there, I might hear it rubbing just a little bit, and it's a matter of, you know, you can, if you had an indicator, that's great. If you don't, no big deal. But you can tighten down the nuts on these bolts going all the way around, getting the plate to deflect in and out a little bit, and it's basically a fine tune for keeping the plates true. Okay, that's why they're there. All right. So that's how that works, and then these are tightened down, and the whole thing is very secure and stable. There's, like I said, there's virtually no end play or anything else, because you basically have a shaft with sleeves of shafts, and the whole thing is cinched together. So there's nowhere for anything to go. Okay, it's nice and safe and tight. So that's kind of how it works. All right, that's it. And the only other thing I want to mention is, for the gentleman in New York who's getting this, is that this is designed as a vertical, right? As a Barebones, I left you a little bit of work, and you're going to have to figure out how you're going to mount it. And my idea when I made it was, you're going to have some kind of piece of wood, probably round and probably like 1 inch thick, okay? A big disc that comes around, and somehow you're going to box in a frame that goes all the way to the ground. This will be a pedestal in the yard. This will be some yard art for you. Your neighbors will love it. So you'll build in the box, and it'll be stable, and it may even go down into, it will likely go down into the ground in some way, and maybe even have guys off of it. That's all up to you how you secure that, but secure it well, of course. And then you'll come around here, and then you'll tether this to that box in some way, and there's either little U-bolts, you can U-bolt around there, you can do it in any number of ways, but that's how this whole thing will go together. This frame could be put on there, and then as you can see, which is very light, and then you can assemble everything around it. Okay, that's my idea. The only other consideration that I slightly regret here is I left a little recess in there which water can pool up in. Okay, I'm sorry, that's just the way this is coming. You're gonna have to come up with something for that, a little rubber boot or something that will go around that. I'm sure you can come up with something. I know a very bright gentleman this is going to, so that is it. And I'm sorry, this is a long-winded video. It's a little out of my nature to make them like this, and it's completely unedited, but I think I kind of went through it, and that's what it is. So boy, if you have any questions or you guys have thoughts about this, let me know. I'm not going to talk any more about it. I think this is pretty much said it here. I do want to mention one other thing, though. So if it's going to be a long video, it's going to be a long video. Over here, I have this turbine, which you just saw a moment ago. This one I'm going to unload on eBay at some point. And I know some folks have expressed interest in these things, and I wanted to get one to you. This is going to get finished up here shortly. It's just like this one with the thinner magnets in there, okay? And the coil is 160 turns of 18 gauge, again from Kentucky, and I've got to make the blade set on it. Now, I don't know what kind of blades I'm going to put on it yet. I did have on this one Missouri Wind and Solar. Gosh, I think they're called. I think they're Falcon Mach 4s. I'm not a brand loyalty guys. I'm not one of those guys. You know, I like them. They did a great job. They're dead silent, and they're perfectly well balanced, and they did great on this machine. I'm going to keep them on this machine, and that's that. I'm going to move this machine to a better location. Mine is a poor wind location. This one I need to make a hub for it. I want to make a custom hub, and gosh, I'm thinking of maybe the I don't know, those Pantera blades or something else on it. I don't want to put one of those big fiberglass blades on it, because unfortunately In my area, I cannot have a large wind turbine. My neighbors just will not. I'll have neighbor problems, okay? I would love to make a larger turbine, but I can't. And that's one of the restrictions of being here and trying to do small wind. It has to remain small, as tempting as it is to go bigger than this. But at any rate, I don't. Any thoughts anyone has experience with blades, and I don't want to go that whole brand loyalty nonsense. I want to know tip speed ratio. I want to know the facts. And the other thing I don't know about those blades is the dimensions. I looked on the site. I saw a 5/16 hole, and I don't know the distance between it. I need a little more information. I might just have to order up a set so that I have the dimensions. Anyway, that's what my thought. Sorry, that's another project, and I'm probably getting off track there. But thank you very much. Please make a comment. Please say something about this. And until next time.